and shut this down, and then everybody's happy.
Good thing this ain't Survivor night. Like.
Okay. We are good.
Here's how I wish they'd move her out.
Okay, there we go. We're good. We are live and good to go.
Having said that, on behalf of the Waldoboro Select Board, call this meeting to order.
And I'd also like to call the Budget Committee meeting to order.
Ladies and gentlemen, if we may have a few moments of silence for Dale Boyington. Thank you. Go ahead and have the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
If you, the first thing on our agenda is the Capitol. And there's two things here. One is the Capitol worksheet that was in your book. Still had the police car that could be a potential cut in it. So this lovely sheet that you have, this is what we call the big sheet of Val, is normally a much bigger sheet that I put out here, but then everybody can't read it. So you all have a smaller individual sheet. It goes out to 2045 somewhat. It got a little bit cut off, but at this point in 2045, anything that I have projected as a cost in 2045 is just a guess. It could be a guess for 2029 what costs will be. But this is our big sheet that plans things in the future, well into the future. Again, like I said, some of these are guesstimates. I do not know what a police car could potentially cost in 2035, but it's the best guess that I have. Pretty much the municipal building reserve, that probably should go up too, but we kept it at 20. Our EMA reserve to plan for things starts next year. And that looks like we'll plan for over 4 years, $10,000 each. Our EMS equipment reserve was based on the best way to save for ambulances over the years. Our fire equipment reserve, again, that this now reflects the schedule that Paul updated when he gave us the his proposal for when and what year replacement. Again, I have no clue what a fire truck is going to cost. We just don't know in years to come. How we, obviously there'll be some discussion, and that might not be for this budget, but we might have meetings over the summer to discuss more about how we want the Capitol to look. We also have if you'll see, the 2024 is without the police car under police equipment reserve. That was one of the things the chief suggested. So then, because we have the money in the balance that can fill in this year when we get the car, but then you're gonna have two 2023 cars potentially, so I adjusted the police equipment reserve, and I know that was a bone of contention, that was difficult, but we've already appropriated the money and we haven't used it, so we technically we have that money. I can't put it in that column because we're not, it was already budgeted for in a prior year and not used. And then Public Works pretty much has stayed the same. Shellfish conservation fees and ordinance fines. The conservation fees are put in when the close of the year comes, so. We have conservation fees coming in, and then there's a difference between what the budget was and the unexpended balance, so that has to be in there, so that's why it says to TBD, so I didn't want the Shellfish chairman yelling at me down there at the other end of the table. Highway construction, you'll note, stayed the same, but the surface paving program we took down. The solar farm purchase has been put into 2 years as was negotiated. If we decide to buy it, it can be done over 2 budget periods. And the transfer station equipment that was in for this year is still there. And then if you'll see in there new, and it might be just because we didn't go far enough before, you'll see Marine Park and Pines Creek Landing Reserve, and I do not know what those repairs would be, but I just thought we should have something in there just to keep our mind on it. And then if you'll see the Recreation Facility Reserve, there's a lot, we've received $1 million for a community center. We applied for another $1 million. This is a number that's plugged in starting in 2025. Just so that we're aware that at some point, we're going to have to spend that grant funding. And probably have to add to it.
Was that grant, was there any matching money we had?
No.
So.
Those are earmarks. So we got the $1 million essentially for the infrastructure for the community center medical arts facility. And then we applied again this year for specifically phase 2, which is the actual for construction costs for a community center.
Yeah, there's a couple of spots that appear interrelated under the fire equipment reserve. There's a dry hydrants project. And then underneath the solar farm, that's a water system project. $82,000.
So
Is that,
this is a table that has existed since prior to Peg and I. So there are projects on here that have never been taken off.
okay, but do we actually have $82,000? Oh, that's the subtotal figure, not the, I see. Capital projects for the water system are currently only funded by user fees. Should we have a line item in here for capital projects for the water system?
Not in this budget. It has to run through the water budget.
Not supported by real estate taxes.
Well,
Or
other
by
than,
user
other
fees.
than the hydrant fees.
Correct.
Just illustrate that. You're right. But what is the dry hydrant project?
That was well before my time. Perhaps Paul knows.
Outside of the hydrant district, inside the village, we rely on water sources such as ponds that you'll see, and they're plastic hydrants that go down into the static water to be used as a hydrant. They're not pressurized. You have to use the truck to suck the water out. That's what a dry hydrant is.
Thank you. But I guess the issue is there were, I was approached about extending the water mains up to the intersection of 220 and Route 1. I don't know whether that would be funded by the town or by user fees. I don't know how that would happen.
Well, that was a,
Also, you indicated a lack of pressure at the AD Gray site. Lack of sufficient water for firefighting at the AD Gray site. So are we going to have to make capital investments in the water system?
so. Typically, how that would work would be the project that Max approached you about would be through all through grant for that project. And then that would also have to be funded through the water district. Probably through, I would say, some type of combination of grant funding and loans. Same thing if we were to extend the or do any improvement to the School Street water main, that would be supported by user fees, grants, and loans within the water department budget.
Okay, so we're going to keep the water system separate from. the
We have
budgetary
to,
system.
Like for
Well,
accounting,
we own it, which is why I'm asking the question. We own the water. system.
we own the water system, but it has to stay separate because it's based on a user fee. It's a separate utility. It's not part of the, it's not something that the taxpayers support other than through the hydrant fees that we pay to the water department. It's just the way it has to be. It's complicated. In the accounting part of it. So our total expenditures, if you'll recall, when we started on this merry trip of ours. The original initial request was 1,078,500 for capital. And that, based on the suggested reductions, comes out to be $735,000 now.
What was that first number?
The first number was 1,078,500. And it now stands at $735,000 for total capital requests.
Those numbers are in the first column of the handout, but
On your-
in the orange page.
I wasn't seeing it.
So the first column is where we were initially, and then the second is where we are today. And it's grouped by fund, so the capital is almost down. to
At the bottom, it says capital reserve fund.
Hey, bring the copies for us.
I do,
Yeah.
no.
So one comment I would like to make is that we have reduced that by
$343,500. And the bulk of that reduction comes out of your paving program.
Okay, so we have a $735,000 investment in capital this year. And part of how we did that was by deferring some of the costs to next year, like the solar farm. And my concern, looking at the overall capital budget over the next 10 years, I think is a good unit to plan on. This is significantly lower than all of the other expected contributions to the capital account. And next year, we regret not paying some of this year. The 82,000 on the solar farm. And not that the fire truck is a sure thing, but we have a $2 million figure for next year. And so I want to be comfortable that we're not just kicking the can down the road. And having obligations next year or in future years that we might have been able to take care of this year.
Like I said in the beginning. They're tough decisions that have to be made.
Yeah.
Because you're facing a 23, the way the budget was presented was at a 23% increase. So these are decisions that you need to talk about. I don't think there's been a year I've been here since that we haven't cut something out of capital. Unfortunately, and I say it every year, capital is your investment into the future, and it that seems to be what always gets cut. Because there's not a lot of room to cut in the operating because we run so lean. It's a complicated world. I think our plan would have done much better had we not encountered COVID and inflation. And interest rates that are, 8 times what, well, I don't even know what the percentage is that they've went up, but you know what I'm saying? Like we went from under 1% to now you're looking at over 8%. So I think it's a lot of it's driven by that. And it's not to say that this picture might not look different next year. I can't predict whether the cost of a ambulance is going to go down, if the cost of fire engines is going to go down, or they're going to go up more based on supply chain chips. I don't have that. I don't have that knowledge. I'm not sure anybody has that knowledge.
I know vehicles are gonna start dropping, because I just talked to a friend of mine that ordered a truck. Getting a 2024 next month. Because they can't sell what they've got now. They're already building trucks for 2024. That never happened. You never seen it until October. So something's going on.
Yeah, and I guess I'd also say that it's, instead of kicking the can down the road, I don't regard us as doing that, because we know at some point we're gonna have to put out some investments in these things. I think what we're doing is mitigating the effect of increases and spreading them over a number of years instead of doing it all in fell swoop in 1 year. And it makes it a little bit easier for people to digest when that happens. They're not hit as hard in 1 year. I mean, hitting someone at 50 or 25% in year 1 and then hitting them at 5% in year 2, I think is more onerous than hitting them at 10% year 1 and 10% year 2 or 12% year 2. It makes it easier to budget and handle. And I don't sense from any of the department heads that we've spoken to or from our town manager that we're doing something here that's inadvisable, that is short-sighted, because we recognize what we need to spend down the road. If that makes sense to you.
It does, except that we've got a very big number already next year. So that's not a 5% increase.
But next year we'll have hopefully more. I want to say state aid, and that's not the right name, the revenue sharing. That might be able to offset it. So there's maybe some hope next year that prices will have dropped and maybe some of the operating costs will have dropped if things get down to normal. Everybody's telling us that will happen. We just don't know when it will happen. We don't know what, we've added a lot of money into the gas, the fuel. So, we'll also have that as an offset perhaps next year. Again, it's very hard to plan a budget when you're dealing with uncertainty as far as what the costs are going to be.
Mike?
Yes, because the opportunity to buy the solar farm only occurs in the next year, I guess.
Correct.
Julie set up a a committee to take a look at the issue. And I came at from a perspective of not an investment in safety or public health or whatever, but this is a monetary investment. Buy the solar farm and we get free electricity thereafter. So I took a look at the economics. We already have the solar farm. We did the right thing. We're getting solar energy. It boils down to, does it make financial sense or not? I did write a summary for those who weren't involved. I only made a dozen copies, so you can share it.
Can you just summarize it quickly for people who don't?
Sure.
have a copy?
We have a contract with Sundog Solar for 25 years with extension. Renew for 5 additional years. The electricity that's generated is shared by a net metering. We may buy the facility, the solar farm, for $164,176. After which we would get free electricity, less maintenance. And the pros favoring the single pro favoring this is it's a good deal for buying a solar farm because it costs only $164,000. It might be $210,000, $220,000, $250,000 in a few years as inflation goes up. The con is that, well, there are several cons. At times, we've used more electricity at this facility and at the town garage. And that kicks us into a different rate in which we don't get full net metering. There are also have some problems with a device called an optimizer. And I only have a vague notion of economics, but a lot of these have failed and they are under warranty for 25 years. But it's Sundog expressed a little bit of frustration with getting action on replacements under the warranty. But the biggest issue is I don't have a crystal ball. We could get a huge amount of savings if, for example, we install heat pumps or a fast solar charger. Well, that would be actually be a negative if we had a fast charger here, because we'd be over the 25 kW every month. Other things could happen. The price of fuel, fuels all these generating stations could come down if the war in Ukraine ends. I listed a huge number of uncertainties. I have no crystal ball as to whether any of them take place or not. So it's really a roll of the dice. Do we want to spend $164,000 now or continue to get a lower rate with Sundog on the hook? That's it. That's it in a nutshell. Is it a good deal? And I can't make the decision. I don't have enough information.
What's the estimated maintenance cost on?
He thought it's 110 kilowatt display array. And I think he said it was $2,000 a year, and if you look at the graphic there, it's included in $2,000 a year, but that seems ridiculously low to me. But it's a 9-year payback based on what we know and electric rates as they stand right now. It's a 9-year payback. Does a 9-year payback make sense for the
But
budget?
then it's 14 years old. And what's the percentage of decrease in power it produces? By then?
That's in that graph, 5% per year, 0.5%.
Oh, well,
5% per year.
you're gonna lose 7%, and that was 4 years.
Something like that.
And we are still waiting for replies back on cost for maintenance from 2 companies and a third potential source of somebody locally who could do the maintenance on it. So if you put that money in this year, it still gives us time to decide what we're doing, but at least it's in there. And if we put it in there and then we decide not to purchase it, you can always reappropriate that money within the capital fund to another place if you need it. But at least it's a placeholder for right now.
When did this array go online?
Pardon me?
What year did we put this in?
2018.
So there's two things I'd like to see in a chart like this. I'd like to see this extended out to 30 years total. To represent the full life of the array. And I'd like to see our power rates, the retail rates we're paying, starting at 2018 and going forward. In the last 2 years, we've seen what, a 40 and 60% increase through CMP,
Understood.
and I don't want to confuse it. It's not necessarily that I think anything here is wrong. Those are the things that will help my brain understand this better.
Understood.
Great.
I can expand that.
I think we should point out there's an escalator clause if we decided not to buy it. And to continue to buy power from Sundog. There's an escalator clause in that contract. That increases the kilowatt hour rate. Every single year. For the next, for the term of the contract. It's not. Is it, what is it, 10.5 cents now we're paying?
Yes.
Yeah, we're paying 10.5 cents per kilowatt hour now, which when you compare it to CMP's rate. I think is a good rate. But if we don't buy it in 2025, 26, 27, 20, so forth, that rate from Sundog is gonna go up every single year.
So I'd like to see that represented too. I think that's going to give us a more true answer.
It's just hard figuring out what that rate is gonna be.
Well,
Again,
it's based on the
again.
10.5 cents.
I'll tell you, there's one huge issue out there. That nobody's paying attention to it. A huge power plant in New England is closing in 14 months, 14, what, July, 15 months. July, end of July, 2024. It's 1.4 gigawatts.
Wow.
And the base load power in New England, ISO New England, is 8 to 10 gigawatts. So it's just a huge amount of electricity generating is going offline. Everybody knows about it. Nobody's doing anything about it. That would.
That to me argues in
That
favor of
would,
buying it.
that would argue in favor of it.
Yeah.
But if somebody and it's gonna be impossible for all the New England states to realize that this is gonna be a real financial crush on people. It's gonna take all 6 New England governors to tell ISO New England, don't let that plant close. Take it by eminent domain. Do what you have to do to keep it running. But you're right, if that really argues toward buying the solar.
Thank you for this work. This is a lot of effort.
There I am. I think, that'll give us a year to get this information if we do have to, so I'm not too good. I think we really need that information. I'm not sold on solar, but if it's a good deal, it's a good deal. If it's not, then.
This purely comes down to economics, not public safety. This is it, is it a good deal? Yeah.
And just like what we're saying with the budget, there's so many unknowns out there that you're almost planning for. What's the worst case scenario? Kind of difficult.
I'd add one thing if I may, were you at the meeting with?
No.
The competitor? No, you weren't.
I was.
We asked what it would cost to replace the array today. And the number we got was over $400,000. And in that scenario, it's a 5-year payback. 5 years, so. That's pretty decent for a public utility.
I wish I had sat in on that.
Sure, I don't,
John Daggle's up.
I think the biggest part of the capital, I gave 200,000. Okay, I don't see any problem with that. I don't have the employees to do that work, so there's no sense to put it in there. The roads that are already paved will be taken care of. Okay, nothing's gonna change. So let's not make that a big issue. The solar array, it's not costing us anything right now, is it?
Well,
Okay,
No.
so it's not costing us anything. Seems like them guys are up there every month working on it. I don't know, maybe somebody better find out why they're there.
It's the optimizer.
Well, whatever. As far as cost for maintaining this, it's costing me $2,000 a year just to mow the area around the thing. So if they're saying that's all it's costing them to maintain it, they're wrong. Because they've been up there quite a few times. You know, but I really don't feel this is not costing us anything right now. We leave it the way it is. We've got to make hard cuts in the budget to make it work. Okay, I'm giving up my part. Other people have to give up their part. That's how I feel.
And I think if we do half this year and if we decide not to continue it. Then we can scrap that. I mean, we can walk away. I really think that's the best way to do it, personally.
So I have a question as far as dividing it in half. If we only fund it half this year and defer the second half for a year, our purchase date is moved back. Is that correct?
So when we had the meeting with them, because I didn't think we were gonna be able to. Obviously, with what we had, I said, could we split it and could we agree to purchase it and then make the date cross years? And I said, so we could purchase it July 1st, essentially 2024, which gives us 2 budgets to work in. And he said, yes. So we have to let him know, hey, we're going to, before December, we're going to purchase it. That way there's money this year in the capital and there would be money next year and we would cross years.
Okay, how would it be affected if we funded the whole thing this year? Would we own it a year earlier?
No, because you still have to wait till that next year. It's just a matter of,
That's the-
typically, we'd have to have
contract.
it. Typically, he's gonna give us about 5 months at that same price to purchase it.
So if
So-
we did fund it all this year, we wouldn't really gain much time that we weren't paying for electricity.
You're. It's really. Just. Spreading it over from one fiscal year to another.
Right, but my point is what's the start date of when we would
I think
start
it's
getting free
February.
electricity?
we
February.
would own it on June 30th, 2024.
As
And we
opposed
Versus
to-
February of 2024.
We would pay for half of it in fiscal year 2024, and on the first day.
I
of the next
understand that.
Fiscal year, we pay for the other half.
I
But
understand.
that has a huge impact on your budgeting. Because that's $82,000 we don't have to put in the budget for 2024. We put it in the budget for 2025 and we spend it immediately.
I understand that,
Okay,
but what on those,
You want to know the opportunity cost for those 5 months.
right, how much would we save on electricity over those 5
I
months?
thought the title conversion was on the 30th of June,
The
Not-
entire conversion would be on that, right?
not February.
No, but what he's saying is, but if we put all the money in it now, could you buy it then in February? Which is when we would typically do it
And then pay nothing for our electricity for 6 months,
for
6 months.
5 months. February, so March, April, May, June,
So
4 months.
4 months.
So
Gotta count.
how much
Gotta
is
do
that
this.
electricity worth for those 5 months?
We're probably not gonna save $82,000.
Yeah, it's not gonna be 82,000.
Well, no, it's,
If you save
we're not,
$1,000.
yeah, but what would be the financing cost to borrow 82,000 for 5 months versus I mean, not that I'm proposing that.
I'd have to model that. I'd have to model that.
Well, what are
Because
we
then-
paying? What's our total electricity cost for 12 months right now? What are we?
Well, you can, hold on, I can tell you.
2022 is 131,000. Oh, it's still up.
Well, there's, we would have to go through and look. Is it on that sheet that Mike handed out to you?
It's allocated by department, right?
Yes.
No, I meant on the sheet Mike just handed out. That was on my original spreadsheet, Mike. Which Mike probably have right there.
Consumption, 121,039 average from 2022 to 2019, and 2019 to 2022. So what's that?
10,000 a month?
1,000 kilowatt hours a month.
Oh, kilowatt hours. So what does that translate into in dollars? We're paying 10 cents a kilowatt.
Kilowatt hours.
10,000.
10,000.
But then we also, so let me just look up, I'll look this up. to spreadsheet.
We'd save $10,000 by buying it 4 months early.
$10,000?
It's pretty significant.
But.
Yeah.
But we have to wait because it's not just the cost of the,
And the demand fees. and-
there's a whole bunch of stuff that goes into this, so it's.
Yeah.
Sorry, it's just gonna take me a minute to find the email that I originally sent.
While she's looking that up, what would the overall lifespan of the system be in practical terms, even kind of limping along towards the tail end of it, if it was still, at some point, you're gonna be putting enough parts into it that it doesn't pay, I would presume. But
It's always, even when it's 80 years old, it's still producing electricity.
yeah,
They don't stop. So it's a matter of at what point do you replace panels because you can get a newer panel with a greater capacity of production than you can with your old panel.
Right.
And you wouldn't replace all the panels at the same time, is my guess.
Right.
Replace what you have.
Well, what's the life expectancy of the panels? What are they telling you?
40 years. I mean, they
Come on.
warranty them for 25.
Okay, in 25 years,
Warranty for 25. We go beyond. that.
if we have to get rid of them, where we send them, right now, we gotta send them to Ohio to get rid of them, right? Because that's the only place to get rid of the hazardous material. I read an article on it last week.
Our total cost is right around, just before I lose my train of thought, 26 to 21,000 a year for electricity.
21,000 to 26.
So if we're buying 4 months early, we're saving 20% of that, $8,000.
Now, what is the disposal fee cost to get rid of those? That
That-
would be another cost. John brought up a good point.
That's a moving target and it's getting cheaper every year.
Yeah, I will say amen to that. There are a lot of materials in that solar panel. The glass is recyclable, the aluminum frames are recyclable, and there's silver on the cells themselves. I don't know what it's gonna cost to dispose of them 30 years from now, but there's so many of them out there. There's literally a metals mine in those panels. Somebody's gonna figure out a way to recycle them. I can't believe that they're just gonna landfill them. They won't.
Well, I think $8,000 is worth thinking about You're funding the whole thing this year. As well as looking at next year's capital expense.
I'd have to look at the contract again, Julie. I thought we had to give 180 days notice. I.e. by December. And then actually transfer title at the end of June. And if I'm wrong, then Val's got a point.
Yeah, I do not have that in my head to actually make any comment on it.
We have to wait till December to give them notice if it
Well, this
passes in
is
the
like-
budget.
This is. I can't comment because I don't have it in front of me and I don't retain this stuff in my head like that. I just don't have that capability. I haven't had the chip put in lately. It's on back order.
Mike,
One more uncertainty. There's an election coming up and we're gonna be asked to buy the grid and start a new entity called Pine Tree Power. We don't know anything about what is gonna happen to rates when that happens. And our contract with CMP, the net metering, Pine Tree Power will not be necessarily a part of that. I haven't seen the legislation, so I can't say, but it's just another unknown. I mean, they just, this is a real. Take the dice and roll them, guys. We can continue as we are, get our 10% off of CMP's standard offer. Or we can roll the dice. That's it. That's my opinion.
Does anybody have any-
The Country Car ad has been on the TV incessantly. I can't believe that I didn't put it in this little blurb.
Since Bob's looking at the and reading the contract, does anybody have any other questions on the actual capital?
I do.
Okay,
On the police car. The two vehicles that have been ordered. But we haven't received yet. We have the
we've
money.
received one.
Oh, we have received one? Okay,
We have received one.
all right.
There's one that has not been ordered, but we already budgeted for it. So if you really wanted to make it make sense, I guess, in a visual way. If you thought about it in the 2024 column, you could take that 46,000 from the balance. And move it over. Into the 2024 column. In somewhere in there, and that might make more sense. I don't. We've already budgeted it. So we just haven't put the expenditure out. So then we have that money for this year, but I can't put it in that column, because if I put it in that column, then that makes
Then we.
the budget
raise
screwy.
more money, yeah. So with these, I'm concerned about the overall rotation of the fleet and maintaining our replacement vehicle replacement rate at what we're planning on is one car every 5 years. And if getting these two cars this year, we can maintain our 5-year rotation on the fleet, or if we're gonna stretch something out to 6 years, make sure it will go 6 years. I'm not completely clear on how that works with these.
I don't think we have a
Numbers.
choice. I mean, it's not in our hands. When we get the vehicles, when we get it, it's not in our hands. It's just,
Right, but budgeting for the fleet,
right. But if you don't
Turnover.
put it in this year, you already got one for vehicle, money for a vehicle, even if it comes in this year. We have to put in money for next year for the next vehicle. For 2025s. I understand what you're saying, one of those vehicles, but that was out of our hands, that's not.
Right,
But that's not
yeah.
a budget issue, that's a
right,
supply and demand issue.
but the other fact is the remaining vehicles in the fleet are older than they would have been
Yeah.
if we got
Money's not
cars
gonna
back.
change it. Money still is not gonna change that.
They have
No, but
4 vehicles
Unless we
that
buy a
they've
third vehicle.
purchased since 2020. The oldest vehicle they have is a 2017 that will be replaced this year. They're doing pretty good.
So I don't want to speak on behalf of Chief Lash, he's obviously not here.
We can call them if we need them, I should
But,
say.
but to Adam's point. If I was to order an ambulance today, they're gonna tell me straight up, it might be 24 to 36 months before it shows up.
Yep.
So. I really believe that when John, Chief Lash, us department heads were asked to find places that we could cut. This was a safe place for him to go, because he felt that the rotation would be protected even if the car didn't show up. So I understand it's convoluted as far as the rotation of the fleet goes, but I really believe that he feels he can increase the age of those cars to offset the budgetary issue. And I'm not speaking on behalf of him, I'm just speaking on behalf of what I know about, like Abbott said, just when they're gonna show up and when they're not gonna show up.
Hmm.
It's just facts, you know?
It's not a money issue, it's a supply and demand.
So I think when the department heads were asked to cut, we're looking for places that we felt we could cut safely and not increase the risk to public safety. And I think that's where John went and said, I think we could probably talk about a car in this fiscal year budget. So again, not speaking on behalf or Chief Lash, but
Right.
in his behalf, I think he went to the area because he felt it was safe.
He did say that he could like, use the old cruiser for the school resource officer and things. So he did feel that. But I'm looking at the budget side of this is that we have to pay for a fleet and fleet turnover ongoing. And if this puts us behind on the overall fleet, that's what concerns me. That's why I like this capital spreadsheet. However, I would like to see, I think a better way to look at it would be to take each vehicle and contribute a fifth of its.
I know you do,
A
but
fifth
it's
of its
still gonna be
amount.
$48,000 no matter
That's-
what line
that's
it's
right.
on.
But if we're stretching one of those vehicles out to 6 years, we can just change that line item. But the whole fleet is still there. I just think it's a better way to look at it is instead of replacing individual vehicles completely in 1 year funding.
But you're still funding, You're still
In the
funding.
police budget, it's the same amount, but
Yeah.
like in public works,
Right,
dump
but we're
trucks
talking
cost
about-
differently.
Public Works does it a little bit differently because you're dealing with bigger amounts. And the whole point that we went to this funding a car every year was so that it would be evenly funded. Whether I'm dividing, say 50,000 they cost, whether I'm putting $10,000 on 5 lines or 50,000 on 1 line, it's still the same thing. It's just making it look different, which is fine. And if you want it to look different, I will make it look different, but
It's if we stretch one vehicle out another year, we can change that line item in the budget without affecting the other vehicles. If we have it per year, per vehicle.
You're not affecting the other vehicles. That's the whole premise of the apparatus replacement. If you just move it from that year, that other vehicle steps in and protects that spot. You're not losing a car. It just,
No, but something else is aging more because you're keeping that car long or not replacing.
so what the budget committee has to look at is. If you wanna put the $1 million back in, if you wanna put the police car back in, put the police car back in. If you want me to change what this looks like, because you don't like the 48,000 and you want it, or 50,000 and you want it spread out over 5 line items, I can, if whatever you want it to look like, a majority tells me, put it $10,000 in 5 lines and you're still gonna be cutting 50,000 if you're cutting it. I'll change it. But we've spent now a lot of time talking about a car that a department head has said does not affect his overall
Plan.
rotation and plan. I think we have to respect what the department head's saying. But like I said, it's really up to you guys. You guys gotta decide where you're gonna.
Say we keep it as is and move forward.
I mean, if you want to have a special meeting, just talk about the cars over the summer, but we've got to have something on on April, what's our next, 7th. So that we can get to the printers with this. So we've got to make some decisions and I appreciate what you're saying, Val, but it's just moving lines. That's all it is.
We have the authority to spend the money no matter how you categorize it. As long as it's been approved by the voters as a gross amount. We can move the numbers around if we have to. So we're not really changing it. That's all. I do have an answer on the electricity, on the rate, if you want to hear it.
It's very,
So beginning on the 6th anniversary of the anticipated commercial operation date. So what is the date on which that array was activated?
February,
February 2018?
I believe so.
Okay, so we have to give between 90 and 180 days notice prior to the 6th anniversary of the contract. So 90 to 180 days prior to February 2024, we have to let them know whether we want to buy it or not.
Right,
And then we buy it on that date. And what he's agreed to do
it's split it.
for budget purposes is to say, look, you
July
can extend
1st.
that, and the contract allows us to do that, actually. It allows us by separate agreement to extend the purchase date if there are reasons to do so. And still keep that price. It's the key is to keep that price. Because otherwise it's sold at fair market value. And one could argue that the fair market value of that array today is a heck of a lot more than we paid for it, than they paid for it. That's the bottom line. So we need to tie down the anniversary date.
It's February. It's February. I'm pretty sure it's February. They were hoping for December, and remember, we couldn't get CMP to do the tie-in, so I think I'm pretty sure, I do have that in my old chip. In my- February. I can make this look however you want it to look, but you're still gonna cut, if you're gonna cut a car, you're gonna cut a car. Whether it's on 5
Okay,
lines or
I'm gonna drop the car thing, because no one else seems to be worried about it. I do think we also have to consider that splitting the solar purchase in half is gonna cost $8,000.
Bob just said it wasn't. Right?
February is the date on which, February 2024, the date at which we have to make the purchase.
But he's delaying that.
Whether we. But if we split the purchase to 2 budget cycles, do we still own it at the same starting date?
I don't know that they've agreed to transfer title in February if we pay them half.
That would be a good, if it does, it would be, if it does.
Then we're benefiting
Oh,
immediately.
absolutely.
Yeah, they wouldn't be billing us at 10.5 cents a kilowatt hour for 4
So
months.
it's 8,000 or whatever dollars.
That's worth talking to them about.
So we'd essentially be paying 78,000 for the second half instead of 86 or 82, whatever.
No, the savings would come from paying nothing for the electricity from
Right.
February to the end of June 2024.
Which would offset part of the purchase price.
Yep. And my understanding was they agreed to that, but I think we need to clarify it.
They agreed to it.
They did.
So they just take 2 payments, they should transfer it over in February.
Yeah, we didn't specifically discuss the billing part of it, i.e. you don't send us any bills after February, right? We didn't tie that down as far as I know.
No.
That's something we need to tie down.
And like Val said, you save $8,000
We'd save
on the
$8,000.
82.
Yep.
You'd save, 76,000, 74,000.
Don't tell them that, though. Okay,
If we appropriate the money tonight, is there a is there a date by which we have to make the actual payment? I mean, if we appropriate it, when do we have to make the decision to actually spend it?
The purchase shall be complete prior to the end of the applicable contract year. That's what the contract says, or an additional term, if we add a little bit onto it. So prior to the date of the contract year, which would say it's February 15th, say that's the end of the or beginning of the contract year. On February 14th, we have to have made that payment to them. Question is, we accept 82 in February and 82 in July, and not bill us from February to July? That's the question.
So then they're financing it. I would say the answer would be no, because he said we're not gonna finance it, but they would cross the payments.
They did say they wouldn't finance us. They
I
did
asked
say
that question
No, you
too.
did.
So I'm just saying, it's. If you want to save $8,000, but just bear in mind, you're also then moving that. Putting more burden on the taxpayer too.
Yep.
Of this. So I, you tasked our departments to make cuts, so we didn't have a 23% increase. I think my department heads and us have stepped up phenomenally. These are your decisions you guys have to make, but it sounds to me like you're going back on some of those decisions. So I don't know where else to cut. So you have to really think about, where do you want this budget to be? Do you want it under 15%? Do you want it over 15? Give me a percentage. I'll go back and I'll make the cuts. You guys got to decide what you want. I mean, you're adding back things we've already cut. So I'm at a loss here to tell you. If we're going to fight over $8,000, you need the extra $8,000. Yeah. I got a good department. We can cut it. We're done. I'm at that point. I don't know.
What else on the capital do we have to go over?
Whatever you guys
We
want.
can,
I
we
mean,
can beat the
it's here.
solar to death. We can beat the police car to death. What else do we have to?
I mean, there's nothing really, we cut it down to where you could go.
How does it work?
I'm making motion, we move on.
Well, if I could get recognized,
How
I
does
was
the
gonna.
budget- We've got the budget committee and we've got the select board. Does the budget committee take a vote on line items?
Yes.
Yes,
Yeah.
eventually
We
we
will.
all will, yeah.
The select
Is that
board
gonna happen
votes
tonight?
first.
Yeah, that's what we hope to.
April 7th.
He's never heard himself. Someone doesn't say
Billy.
his name.
Bill,
What do you
and-
got
and
to
just
say?
have questions.
I get the utmost faith in what the town manager, the finance director, and our department heads have recommended to do. And at this time, I'd like to move the question and vote on the capital reserve figure that's been proposed of a total of $735,000.
A second.
All those in, well,
Well,
who's
select board gotta
voting?
do it first.
Select board's gotta go first.
That's my recommendation to the select board.
I'll make that motion. Bill, I'll do that for you.
I'll second.
Oh, that's the least you can do. You ain't
All right,
gonna
it's been
count
moved-
votes. do you?
Moved and seconded for the capital reserve fund of $735,000. Is there any discussion? No, we don't want.
We
any
don't
discussion.
do.
We'll proceed to vote. Select board. All in favor? All opposed? Motion carried.
Okay, so now it's the budget committee's turn to vote on the capital reserve fund, the figure of $735,000.
So moved.
Second,
Second.
thank you. Any discussion? All those in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Did I? 1, 2, how many do we have?
We have one absence.
You have one, yeah.
Okay,
Should have 8.
So
Total.
I think you missed John.
good, John and Scott. 3, 4, 5, 6. All those opposed? 2. And 1 absent.
I will try to find all the answers for tonight. And if you want, you can revisit it, but I can't give you those answers.
Thank you for trying though. It's a lot of different questions.
It's a lot.
Okay. So are we gonna go down from the top of the sheet here?
Yes, if you wanna,
You might want to do since you vote out the total transfer station and the total highway.
you want me to go through transfer station?
I'm just saying if you wanted to, you did the total capital fund. It's just a suggestion. And then you can go through the general fund at the top, from the top down.
Actually, I have a question and an out of order question here, but in the capital budget, did this reflect how much of the surface paving budget did we reduce that by?
$100,000.
We reduced it 200,000?
Yes, you did.
Okay. I thought it was 100.
I thought so too. I thought we-
No, because remember at the end, John talked about the dirt roads.
Yeah,
Well,
and
I
we
knew
were,
that, but I thought we were doing 100 this year and 100 next. 200,000, if I have another guy gets out. Oh, okay. And if I don't have a crew. Right, it ain't gonna matter. It ain't gonna matter. Okay.
okay, so this number reflects 200,000. than
Yes,
The original.
right.
Okay,
Well,
Thank you.
total of 343,000
right, but for the paving.
for the page.
No, I misunderstood. Thought it was only 100,000.
Yeah, I guess we move on to.
You said transportation tag?
Oh,
Only
no,
if you
transfer
wanted to just do just knock out the funds that John spoke about in here, so.
Okay,
Is that the 926,000 people?
967, 969 is the amount for the transfer station.
967.
What was the rest of it?
969.
967, 969.
Okay.
So John and I spent a lot of time going back over the transfer station budget. And this is as good as it gets. We went through the disposal fees, we went through the revenue, we went through the expenditures. We ran them again. I'm having dreams about mattresses.
ooh,
And how they're going to be disposed of. And it's
Whoa.
just been a lot of fun. That's what we spent an inordinate amount of time doing and recalculating and calculating again. And then calculating again and calculating again. And we talked about where we could cut and what we could do. And in the end, by the time we were all done, it came out to be, we cut $716. And part of that problem is the unknown between what you take in and then, how we handle that. We do, and we are exploring some really out of the box ideas about mattresses. So hopefully,
In the box.
No pun intended.
Get it?
no pun intended. I'm not even, I'm not even trying. It's just happening.
So that's the,
Platform
that's
bed.
an in and out.
No,
correct?
we
Okay.
have
Yes, it is. There's
platform beds.
town contribution. piece.
Right.
I could give you that.
No, I just wanted to make sure the number I read off is right.
Yeah.
Okay, I make the motion, we approve $967,969 for the transfer station.
Second,
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to approve $967,969 969. Is there any discussion? If not, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor?
This is select board. yeah.
Just select board.
That's right.
Yeah, just,
Yeah.
yes, just you
Yeah.
guys.
3, 4. Will do.
Will's abstaining.
Okay, so that passed. So the budget committee, do we have a motion? For $967,969.
So moved.
Thank you. Any discussion? Is this the revenue or expense? Or both?
It could be both,
It's been the same, right?
because they're the same.
Yeah. Did the select board vote on both?
Mhm.
Okay,
Yeah, one
that's-
comes
that's
in,
why
one
I
goes
asked
out.
if
Yeah.
it's the Same number.
Right.
Yeah.
yeah,
That's why I asked if it was the same number of expenditures and the revenue.
okay, so any discussion? All those in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. One absent.
And then if you want to do the highway block grant fund. Those are also revenue and expenditures have to match, and that went up. From last year, $287, and that would be the $74,892.
Make a motion, we accept the block grant. Budget for 74,892.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Now we'll proceed to vote. All in favor, the select board? All opposed? Motion carried.
Okay, budget committee, do we have a motion?
I move that we accept the highway block grant for 74,892.
Second,
Any discussion, questions? All those in favor? 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Thank you.
Now. So if you will. Um. Since the last meeting, Peg and I took a lot of time. Well, actually, it was Peg. I didn't really. It was Peg. It was all Peg. It took a lot of time to redo the. Expenditures for the. All the, and reflect the cuts that you wanted to potentially make, and that took a 23% increase and change down to a 13.64%. And the reason it's down even further, at first, the first round you got was around 15. But earlier today, after much discussion, the fire chief, the deputy fire chief and I met today. Because of the budget and where we're at. And a lot of the discussion that has come up. We're going to recommend that the per diem firefighter model be looked at in more detail. And that we're going to spend time with our department heads and go over some of the ideas that were put forth in Kyle's report and ideas that came up in just general discussion to ensure that, you know, it's one scenario, there's other scenarios. And I would say, look forward to seeing something in fiscal year 25. But be prepared that you'll probably be called in very similar to what we did with you guys with EMS. All the EMS changes that we implemented, we included you along every step of the way. And I think that that's how we're going to proceed, is just really look at a lot of the things that were put out there and looked at, and I think that's something that we can agree upon, and as long as all of you are excited and willing to meet again in July, like we did for EMS in August and September and October and November, at least once a month. That seemed like we just couldn't get enough of each other back then. You're gonna have to do it again for fire. And I think that's fair, but 23% increase.
Paul hiding back there.
No, he's right there.
I got a question for you, Paul. Have you got a plan in place to track what we really need to, you said your response times, you were there first, so that's where it was. Are you gonna start tracking exactly when the trucks start getting there, so we have that data?
We've already rewritten our run reports to try to capture that.
Yeah.
Go forward.
Yeah, because I think that's key right
Some of
there.
some of the information that we can't capture. So we probably could. but
If you did if you do a report every time, you'll have that data.
My issue also is the age of the few folks that we have during the day.
But that can still be in your report as well.
Well, if it's legal,
Well. All right, I'll let you have that one. I forget sometimes. Okay.
So the number for, I just want to make sure I understand the number for the fire department that's on the orange sheet
Is the correct number.
is the correct number. There's a footnote on that.
It's not.
Do we
up to date.
ignore
It's not up to date, so
That was-
that was-
I want to make sure.
Within
She
an
had-
hour,
she had 2 changes within an hour and the notes were not
sorry.
updated.
Not a problem.
And then
Thank
There
you
are
very much
times
for
when we are
clarifying.
not superheroes here.
Yep.
Ignore all footnote,
I got a
Ignore
question if
all
I could.
footnotes.
ignore all the foot.
Go ahead.
Paul,
That's the only one.
it says reduce diesel and training. Are you getting diesel now at the transfer station? I mean, the, highway. In the training, what was the reduction there?
yeah, we were just looking for places to cut.
Anything that's gonna affect what you get?
We just don't- those are two different stuff. We'll figure it out.
So the 245, 401 is the correct number.
Yes.
Yes.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded for fire services at 245,401. Is there any other discussion? Not proceed to vote. All in favor? All opposed? Motion carried.
Okay, do we have a motion in the budget committee?
I make a motion in the amount of 245,401 for fire department services.
I'll second.
Thank you. Any discussion? All those in favor? Mike, did you vote yes? Okay, thank you.
We should have little cards we put up next year. That way people don't have to keep their hands up.
Like the Olympics?
Yeah.
Paddles, little paddles.
Have a digital terminal.
You can have a
Yes.
happy.
Yes
face
or no?
a no happy. Okay, do you want to start at the top now?
Makes sense.
There is one other cut I think we should make, which I don't know if it's reflected in this, is the. Sorry, Johnny, the 25,000 for the sand. It's, as far as I know.
That's reflected as.
It's already in
It
there.
is, okay, all right, I just didn't know if that was a question, I didn't know. if we
It
got-
said reduce sand and gravel,
Yeah.
but then,
But that's only 11,000. so-
right, but then we had to make adjustments in the rate adjustment that the select board wanted, so that kind of evened it out.
Okay. I want to make sure that was in there.
Yep, it
So
says
that's what
reduce
you
sand
wanted
and
to
gravel.
do, so I just wanted to make sure we just gotta make a decision. So,
Yep,
no, I'm on top of it.
Are we
Yeah,
gonna,
start at the top.
Start at the top. Department 100 Office of the Select Board. This was reducing the fuel surplus to 7,500. And then this is where Peg got confused and I was somewhat, I guess, confused too. She reduced the select board stipend to $6,000.
I would suggest we reduce it to 0, as was suggested by Will at the last meeting. And that'll save us 6,000, won't it?
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion?
Well,
What's the new number?
are we
25.
voting on?
Oh,
No, we're
No, I
voting,
mean, but are we, what?
we're
are we
voting on
Are
Bob,
we voting on What Bob.
what Bob just said.
So
That's my
There's a
motion,
new number.
that we reduce it to 0.
25,765.
25.
So I'll amend my motion to read approval for the select board at 25,765.
I have a
You
question.
have a question? Go ahead.
The idea when we discussed this last was to leave it in and individual members could choose to donate back their stipend if they wished. Is that? Do we know that everyone's happy with that?
We'll find out when the vote happens.
Well, there were two supplements to that. One was, it's not just the stipend, it's also the taxes and benefits that attach to them. Those get reduced too. The other part was, there was mention of
Travel.
travel expense. Coming to 100 select board meetings a year. So
Yeah.
that's what I was.
So
So it's more than the $1,400 per person. 1,400 plus benefits, and if you give the money back. The money still goes to the feds, the money still goes to the state, money still goes to Social Security. It doesn't stay in the community.
Okay, my concern is just that all the select people are really on board with this and will be happy for the whole year.
Well,
Yeah.
at least 4 of them will. I mean, 3 of them. will.
And it'd be a good learning experience for people that are taking out papers for the first time.
We do want succession in the select board
I
eventually.
can't imagine anybody doing this for money. I just.
And that's,
Yeah.
That's the whole point.
I'm not doing it for the money.
Okay,
It covers copying.
Very easy.
Yeah.
Just vote on it.
Just out of curiosity, I mean, outside of the select board members coming to meetings here. How much travel's involved in going to, anything outside town? When we was doing budget, when doing negotiations for contracts with Friendship and Jefferson, we was there a lot. We did what, 2 or 3 meetings in Friendship, we did 2 or 3 meetings in Jefferson.
We can always reimburse that out of another line. item.
Those things are taken
In
care
to
of.
see if there was an interest, if I would assume about $250 per person, which is just, and it would add $1,250 to the budget.
I
But
just
yeah, it
don't
could be
see why we
absurd.
should burden you with that paperwork. That's my,
I pushed the burden of the paperwork on the person that submits the mileage.
well, then I.
There's a
We're not gonna burden anybody with that paperwork.
I mean, that's how the individual.
They would have to submit their mileage and it's not a huge thing. I just estimated $250 per person because Bob and I did the math real quick last meeting.
I think it's a motion on the floor.
Okay,
Keep
And
it
just
as
so
it
you
is.
know, if you do have to go someplace, we do have a vehicle shellfish truck that could be utilized.
Oh. Oh, I didn't, thank you.
Like the siren.
Yeah, we bought a floor so we can actually all. fit.
Oh, there's. Okay, never mind. Peg nixed that. Never mind. You can't use it.
They're not paid anymore, so they're not employees.
Well, I think they still are under the veil. but maybe not.
Okay, for the select board,
So what is the actual amount?
$25,765. Correct?
Correct.
Okay. So for the select board. Under the office of the select board. The budget is $25,765. Is there any discussion? If not, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor? All opposed? Motion carried.
Okay. The budget committee is gonna be shamed into doing the same thing. We'll have to cut our stipend to zero.
Yeah, it's already there,
It's gonna go there.
right?
It's easy.
It's easy.
I think you're gonna have to stop paying.
Paying for this entertainment.
I make
Sure,
a
we have a
motion of
motion.
25,765 for the office of the select board.
Thank you. Any discussion? Thank you, select board. All those in favor? Eight. Eight. Okay,
Okay, office of the town manager. The amount listed is $158,114.
I'd make that motion.
I'll second it.
It's been moved and seconded for the office of the town manager at 158,114. Is there any discussion?
What was the $1,000?
That was reduced supplies to $1,000 and you increased travel and meeting expenses to 800.
Okay. I just wanted to.
That's where I'm gonna pay for your mileage. That's funny.
Is there any other discussion? If not, select board will vote. All in favor? Raise your right hand. All opposed? Same sign. Motion carried.
Oh.
the
You can't vote.
select board approved 158,114. I presume I wasn't listening.
Yeah, 158,114.
All right, do we have a motion? Thank you. Any discussion? And this is just $1,000 off of the initial request
Correct.
in the big book. Okay. Ready to vote? All those in favor? 7,
Abstain.
1 abstain, 7, 0, or 1 abstain. 1 absent.
Okay, Department 150, assessment services.
I moved 97,874.
For a second. Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? If not, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor of 97,874. All opposed? Motion carried.
Select Board recommends 97,874 for assessment. Do we have a motion?
Moved.
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? All those in favor? 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
Okay, page 7, finance customer service. The amount is 236,846.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? If not, proceed to vote. All in favor? All opposed? Motion carried.
Okay, anyone want to move 236,846 for finance?
So moved.
Thank you. Any discussion? All those in favor? 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 1 abstain.
Okay, Department 205, Town Clerk.
John Heller.
Town Clerk, 92,651.
So moved.
It's been moved and seconded to approve 92,651. Is there any discussion? If not, proceed to vote. All in favor? All opposed? Motion carried.
We have a motion from the budget committee for $92,651 for.
So moved.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you, Seth. Any discussion? All those in favor? 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
Okay, Department 250 Municipal Building in the amount of $20,240.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve that amount. Is there any discussion? Now proceed to vote. All in favor? All opposed? Get up. Yeah. Motion carried.
Okay, select board approved 20,000, recommends $20,240 for municipal building. Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? All those in favor? 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
Emergency Medical Service. $1,644,041. Is there a motion? It's been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion?
This, if you'll recall, was reducing overtime and reduced training that was covered by the association.
Oh, yeah.
Is there any other discussion? Go ahead.
Are we going to go over the revenues for that separately?
Yes, it's in revenue.
Yeah, okay.
Any other discussion? Now proceed to vote. All in favor? All opposed? Motion carried.
We are down one on the budget committee for this discussion. Do we want to take a 5-minute break?
No, they'll be right back.
Okay. Okay, so we've got $1,644,041 for EMS.
So move.
We have a second.
Second.
Thank you. We have discussion. Ready to vote? All those in favor?
Here's Billy.
Hey, all right. 1, 2,
EMS.
5,
I told you,
6, 7, 8.
Things are working well.
8, no.
That's right. Careful.
Things I go.
Okay, under police services, $1,130,167.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Been moved and second. Is there any discussion? If now we'll proceed to vote. All in favor? All opposed? Motion carried.
Select board recommends $1,130,167 for police services.
So moved. Second.
Any discussion? I do hope that anyone watching on the live stream realizes that we spent several meetings discussing all these items earlier, and
Yeah, good idea. to
we're
mention
not
that.
just
Very
winging
good
it
idea.
here.
Not just winging it now.
Yeah.
Okay, ready for the vote? All those in favor? 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
Okay, under shellfish management. $31,835.
So moved.
There's a second. Been moved and seconded in the amount of $31,835. Or any discussion? If not, proceed to vote. All in favor? All opposed? Motion carried.
We have $31,835 for shellfish management.
Don't move.
Thank you.
Second.
Mike, thanks. Any discussion? All those in favor? 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
Okay, on animal control, $18,000 even.
Don't move. Second.
Been moved and seconded for $18,000. Any discussion? Not proceed to vote. All in favor? All opposed? Motion carried.
18,000 for animal control. Do we have a motion? Mike? Scott? Discussion? All those in favor? 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
Okay, emergency management agency, $6,761. Do I have a motion?
So moved. I'll wait for somebody else to do it.
Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded for emergency management agency, $6,761. Is there any discussion?
He just left you, so you can cut this one.
Softball practice. He would have stayed.
Is there any other discussion? If not, proceed to vote. All in favor? All opposed?
I guess.
Motion carried.
Yeah, text him that.
I will do it right now.
He'll be on that live stream Thursday.
Just text him to be voted.
In the meantime, $6,761 for emergency management.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? All those in favor? 5, 6, 7, 8.
Department 400 fire hydrants, $88,320. I have a motion.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded for $888,320. Any discussion? If not, proceed to vote. All in favor? All opposed? Motion carried.
That's good. Abden can catch his breath.
Get winded over
Been
here.
working up a sweat over. Okay, 88,320 for fire hydrants.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? 5, 6, 7, 8.
Department 450 streetlights in the amount of $5,300. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Been moved and seconded for $5,300. All in, is there any discussion? Now proceed to vote. All in favor? All opposed? Motion carried.
Shall we have through $5,300 for streetlights?
So move.
Second. You, any discussion? Any bright ideas? All those in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
Just so you know, Kyle said, I bet that was Daigle. I blame Marcus, but hey.
Okay, Department 500 Public Works. Is there a motion to accept $1,215,068?
Motion with reluctance.
So noted.
Thank you.
Is there a second?
That's payback.
Is there any discussion?
What were the adjustments that you finally came up with on this?
Point of view.
So there was, yeah, that we played around a lot with this one too, John and I, Will, and
Slapped her right.
no, he.
What do you do?
Terrible. We reduced the sand. We're doing a trade for the sand.
25,000.
Right, but then part of the issue was. You talked about making some adjustments for in other areas to be attractive. So that's where we ended up. By the time we made those adjustments, then. That 25,000 went down to the 11,000 that you see reflected here.
Well, just for the people and
Weren't in the room.
quality to put on, make sure the public understand, we did this $11,210.
Correct,
So just so.
Right.
It's not-
But- right.
Really doesn't reflect actually what we cut. Because we cut the money now as well.
right.
Really doesn't reflect it. That's the only thing that bothers me a little bit, is it doesn't reflect that.
I think John will be able to remind everybody how much he cut from his budget this year. Trust me, he can tell you what was cut in 1995. Well, he's off a couple of years here and there, but he does have a really good memory.
That's not a bad thing, Johnny.
No, I,
mean, you're still alive. You can remember, yeah.
Okay, select board, is there any other discussion? Now proceed to vote. All in favor?
Yes, with enthusiasm.
All opposed? Motion carried with enthusiasm.
Okay, select board is proposed $1,215,068 for public works.
So move. Second.
Any discussion? I'm still not clear on what the other 13,000, where that ended up from the 25 from
So-
sand and gravel. Or is there a reason not to get into that?
so we were
Nothing, but
we
I
were
just,
talking about making positions more attractive.
so it went into
Into payroll.
payroll, okay. I can accept that.
So when we made those adjustments. It.
Yep.
So increasing one,
The
we,
net was 11.
so the net is 11,210.
And I will say for the record, I think that John is a very frugal public works director and has been for my entire tenure on the budget committee, which is a long time.
All the department heads
Well, yes,
are very frugal. I mean, I just don't want, I'm not taking anything away from John at all.
It's not that, it's just that I've been plowing his road.
Why stop at his? I believe, well, some people's were hit this year by public works.
I'm not gonna say that.
yeah, I really do
Will didn't mean it.
appreciate John's work. Taking care of the town roads and other infrastructure and
Thank you.
Yeah.
Sure.
it is, and you do a good job. Okay.
I would say, I'm very impressed with the people we have as department heads and.
Yes.
And the budget committee and the select board, it's been great working with all of you. It's been a tough year.
It's been a horrible year.
I'm not done yet.
You have to wait. We're not going out and battling in park. Unlike some.
Okay, any other discussion? All those in favor? 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
Department 510, Parks and Cemeteries, $11,750. Is there a motion to accept? Is there a second? Is there any discussion? Now proceed to vote. All in favor? All opposed? Motion carried.
11,750 for parks and ceremony, cemeteries. Excuse me. Thanks. Any discussion? Any ceremony? All those in favor? 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
Okay, Department 600, General Assistance Programs, 18,249. I have a motion.
So moved.
There a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Not proceed to vote. All in favor? All opposed? Motion carried.
We have $18,249 for general assistance. We have a motion.
So moved.
Thank you. Any discussion? All those in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
Okay, Department 610, Social Service Agencies, 25,816. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second, please?
Second.
It's been
So-
moved and seconded. Is there any discussion?
Yeah, it
Yeah.
should be. Because of the food pantry.
We have to take the food pantry out of that total.
Is this a separate line?
Because it's a
item?
separate,
So it'd be 9,816.
9,816.
Someone withdraws their second, I'll withdraw my motion.
Withdraw.
Okay,
sorry.
that's the easiest way to do that.
Make a new motion for $9,816 for social services agencies.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? Not proceed to vote. All in favor? All opposed? Motion carried.
$9,816 for social service agencies.
So moved.
Thank you. Thank you, Mike. Any discussion? All those in favor? 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
And everybody understood why we did the food pantry the way we did it.
Do we need to vote on that?
No.
To put on,
No,
we don't even put a recommendation.
you don't. It's a petition.
So that the way it works is it's extra ballot outside of.
It'll be outside
of
of
the
the budget.
budget.
It'll be a question on the actual warrant that is outside the budget.
Okay,
And that money comes, if it gets approved by the voters. It comes from taxpayers.
That comes from the taxpayers.
so that at that point, it's added.
It's added in at that
Correct.
point.
Okay, under the Recreation Department, $92,920.
Yeah.
There a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second? It's been moved and seconded. All in favor? All of-
Discussion.
Discussion.
Is there any?
Is there any discussion?
Sorry. It just says it's the-
All opposed? Okay, motion carried.
We have $92,920 for recreation.
So moved.
Any discussion?
I believe that it's contingent upon swings.
I got quotes. I'm waiting on one quote for a swing installation,
Okay.
but I have quotes for playgrounds with 6 swings.
Okay. It was a big item of discussion at the select board the other night that John Daigle insisted upon swing.
The town manager said 6. I said, you want 4 or 6? She said 6. That's what I got.
There's a surprising amount of time on this.
There was a surprising amount of time on swings and it was all John Daigle and Bob Butler's fault. But everybody was in support of swinging. I'm swing. Swing. Swings. Swings.
And you really got it all, that you didn't know, we swing.
We are such a swings, we get 5 swings.
You really set.
Yeah.
Right, don't-
John Daigle
Swing.
will be for swinging the vote ahead.
I'm gonna get that dog collar for you.
Okay, you guys voted.
Yes, we
Do
have.
have a motion for,
She's the one who got
where we
it.
at? Yes,
He's not gonna get paid for these meetings.
okay.
How long?
Any further discussion?
That's true.
We're getting punchy here, so how about a vote? All those in favor? 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
Okay, Department 640, Community Services Agency, $102,104. Is there a motion to accept?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? I need to abstain on this one, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Any other discussion?
The Historical Society trustees are still. I met with them, like I said I would the last meeting, and they are fine with reducing the 1,000. Go back to the original 5,000.
Is that reflected in this?
No.
It's not, that's why I'm bringing it up.
So, it'll be 85. Reduction of 85.
So we, for the Historical Society, there's 6,000 in the
Requested.
calculation.
Yeah.
So last year was 5,000?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're saying change it to 5,000?
Keep it, go back to 5,000.
So it'll be 104.
101, 104,
So it's a reduction of 85.
total reduction of 8,500.
So it'd be 101, 104.
Okay, any other discussion?
I have a question. Do these meetings get streamed on LCTV? Or not streamed, but do they make it onto that channel?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, that's all I wanted to know.
Is there any other discussion? Not proceed to vote. All in favor? All opposed? Motion carried. One abstention.
We have $101,104 for community services agencies.
So move.
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? Okay. Ready to vote? All those in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
Department 700, Planning and Development in the amount of $178,447. Do I have a motion? Do I have a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Now proceed to vote. All in favor? All opposed? Motion carried.
Planning and Development for $178,447.
So moved.
Second,
You, any discussion? All those in favor? 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
Department 850, Property Liability Insurance in the amount of $63,620.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? All in favor? All opposed? Motion carried.
Property and liability insurance, we have $63,620.
So moved.
Second. Thank you, Mike. Discussion? All those in favor? Yeah, okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
Okay, we'll skip down to Department 900 Debt Service in the amount of $211,898. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? If not, proceed to vote. All in favor? All opposed? Motion carried.
Debt service, $211,898.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? All those in favor? 8.
Department 910, Other Financing Uses, $1,135,730. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion?
Just,
Yes.
sorry, go ahead, Jim.
I just wondered if you could do like a 1-minute synopsis really of just what that is.
So that's the transfer out of the general fund into the capital fund and the transfer out of the general fund of our portion of the transfer station.
And the cuts, were those cuts from the?
That would be the cuts would be reflected of what that's was from the transfer station and from the capital fund.
From John, would that
Yeah.
be the paving? Part of that being paving?
Part of that is the paving,
Okay, that's why I just, because
the
it's. a big
cars,
number,
paving.
We cut 355,000, so. I
Yeah.
just- Sorry about
That, no, that was my question. Thank you.
Great minds think alike.
Yeah, great. Yep.
Capital and transfer station.
Is there any other discussion? If not, proceed to vote. All in favor? All opposed?
That's exciting.
It's still 5-0, yeah.
Just to add to that, the summary that you guys get. That breaks down the percentage on, because the two-sider. On the bottom of the expense, it breaks down what other is on the expense side for the town.
I got it, yeah.
It says transfer station and it says capital. Good question. Sorry.
All right, other financing uses. $1,135,730.
So moved.
Second.
Ruben. Discussion? Why aren't we voting yet? Is that what you?
Well,
Gonna-
I'm sorry.
All those in favor? 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
Okay, we've already voted on the 6,863,000. Isn't that kind of a summation of everything?
It's gonna be,
Do we need to vote on
it's
that?
gonna be less.
You voted on it in the past, but honestly, I'm not sure that you really.
I don't
need
think
to
we
vote on
do
the
because
total.
It's gonna change, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Gotta make the
but
change.
that's not correct because
It's
we
not correct,
changed a
'cause we've
couple
made
things.
changes anyway.
So, but
But we voted on the individual.
Yeah.
You voted on the individual. I could give you the total.
Yeah, what is that?
I have 6,855,917.
Read it again, please.
6,855,917.
Okay. All right, same thing with 3,723,483.
Need to
It's a total,
vote on.
We haven't done it.
That's your total revenues.
total revenues. All right, so we need to vote on that. Yeah, all right,
So we haven't even
We haven't
We
done
haven't
it.
talked about.
We haven't
them.
talked about it.
we haven't
Okay.
talked about revenue yet.
all right.
If you want to turn to page 54 in your book. So I will tell you that Peg and I are extremely conservative when it comes to our revenue.
He's older than me.
You will see on page 54, an amount of a reduction in revenue of $252,000. That was the reduction from when we used ARPA for revenue replacement in our budget. We used that for 2 years and that is gone. The other the big change that you will see, the taxes that you see on page 57, that's the number that gets plugged in after the budget is approved. Automobile excise taxes, that's based on the fact of the trend that we've been seeing, that it's going up. We reduced this based on what we see the prior year, so that's why taxes and liens went down. And you're gonna see a huge increase on page 57 in development permits, and you're gonna say, well, you took in $142,000 in 2023, why are you only anticipating 29,000 in 2024? That is because we had the solar farm on Controversy Lane come in, and their permitting fee was a little bit over $100,000. We're not gonna have that this year, so that money went right to fund balance, and we're not gonna anticipate that. You'll notice on page 58, you'll see a homestead vetting exemption. Again, that's something that happens afterwards. So does veterans deductions and tree growth. You'll see that investment income is up. Again, that is a product of interest rates going up and earnings going up versus in years past when our interest rate was under 1%. BMV registration fees, that's up based on what we've seen in the past, and an increase in it used to be, what was it, $3? Now we keep $5, I believe. I don't know the detail. Hold on.
What, boat race?
Not the boat, for the BMV.
Oh.
We used to get so much, a dollar amount per,
The agent fee is 5.
yeah, agent fee is 5. It used to be 3, it went up to 5, so that accounts for that. Page 60 is our EMS revenue. And this is based on where we are at to date and what we expect to do next year. And that's a combination of transfers and also the contracts that we have with Jefferson and Friendship and our services that we provide as far as mutual aid contracts for Warren Union and other communities.
Expect the revenues for 2023 to increase quite a bit.
Well, yes, that only reflected till February. Yeah. Plus, we had to add in there that we bill on a quarterly basis to the towns.
Yeah.
So that's the towns that we do business with now under contract, we bill on a quarterly basis. So
And do they pay for the entire year of 2023?
yes, on a quarterly basis.
2 quarters so far, or?
I believe 2, we may have gotten a 3rd one by now.
Yeah, so I think it's timing.
Yeah, it's just timing,
Okay.
because this is only current to 2/22. So.
The town billing is pretty much, I think it's right up to date. We just looked at them. I just looked at it with Derek last week.
Yeah.
And everything was in good shape.
Yeah, we're right on target for 2023.
Okay.
Sorry, can I ask a question about the fire service revenues? We're not really projecting anything for next year.
Go to the
Well-
capital.
Fire billing goes into the capital.
Thank you. Oh, it does say that. If I read it, I'd make it.
Yeah, we
Thank you,
do
John.
have collections for EMS that goes into the operating.
Right.
I think, I'm not sure if that would be something we'd have to discuss about budgeting for that.
Is there anything we could be doing or should be doing on insurance claims for fire incidents?
We do that.
And we're not showing, oh, all right,
It goes into the capital.
goes into the cabinet. Thank you.
On 62 police services, that increase, that is police revenue that is due to the school resource officer salary that we get reimbursed for. And shellfish, we just need to make sure that that amount for 2024 for revenue matches the amount for,
Did you do that when you did the work though? I think you did.
I thought I did, but I think we changed it.
That's 31 something,
Yeah,
Yeah.
it should be 31.
It should be 31,
835.
835.
Yep.
It is
31,
reflected,
8, yeah.
it is reflected on this page,
On
it's
the-
not reflected in your book.
Correct.
And that was a John Logic catch, which I appreciated, because those two numbers do have to match.
Good job.
we did on page 66, because we have not been spending the general assistance as we have in the past due to community navigator, so that revenue we did take down a little bit, expecting that we're not going to get reimbursement from the state. Planning and development, for plumbing fees, we did add an increase of $3,000 too, because that's reflected in what we're seeing. And then page 71 is the transfer into general fund for the highway block grant.
Now, where's profit sharing coming from us?
That would have been back in finance. I guess I skipped over that one.
I'm just kind of curious, remember you said that you was very conservative on it, but we could adjust. that a
Well,
little bit as
we
well.
we were very conservative on it, and then what happened was,
What page is that?
Revenue sharing, not profit.
okay,
sharing.
where is revenue sharing at?
200 finance.
Right, but I think,
Oh,
but I think we took that down,
yeah, we did.
because when that actually came out, it was lower than what we expected. So Peg will give us the new number on
They
that.
voted on it today, didn't they?
No, that would be the mistake that they made for the school funding, which gives schools an extra 42 million, but I did check and they did not give us any more money. So it was obviously a mistake made in somebody's formula up there, but it did not affect revenue sharing. I saw that go under on the ticker this morning of the news and I was all excited, so I came in and first thing I checked was revenue sharing. Well, actually, it wasn't the first thing I did.
We changed it to 960,000 even from the 986,967.
Which line item?
That is on page
Page
58, the first one, 3321 municipal revenue sharing.
And does this reflect tax stabilization at all? We know we had a lot of people sign up for that.
I don't know, that's not something that has anything to do with our revenue sharing. I don't know how the
Theoretically, it
governor,
should, but
I don't know how the governor's paying for that. I'm not
Yeah.
a state employee. I'm not a member of that finance team. We are
Oh, it
told,
should be. Sorry.
we are told that we will be reimbursed for any tax
that's what they're
stabilization.
saying. Yeah, okay.
But again, it should work just like Betty and the farmlands homestead rebate. So I mean, it should work like that, but I don't know the mechanics.
Thank you.
Now, the other interesting thing here is utilization of fund balance. So this is something we can discuss. It's 71. So if you'll notice, we've used the same fund balance for the last 2 years because we're very, very, very conservative. And we have, by being conservative and keeping track of our amazing. I don't want to say we've been daggled. We're not, we're cheap. We are definitely, very thrifty with our expenditures in this community, which is great. Our fund balance has grown.
Was there a sheet on fund balance?
Yes, it's in the beginning of the book, behind the blue page. We were very excited when we got over the 60-day policy target level. When I first started, I don't think we were over the 60.
We were like 45.
We were at-
Yeah.
So, we're at about 76 days, guys, which that's huge. We've been very protective of our fund balance. And I'm very proud of that.
As well, you should be. That's a huge accomplishment.
What was our goal?
Our goal was to get over 60.
And we're at 76.
76 days. We're not at 90. That's my next 7-year goal.
What,
Over the next 7 years.
what does that 16% or 16 days equate to in money?
$1,195.
It's a $6 million budget. I mean, we're not including the school in that, so
Right.
it's just the town budget that we're calculating now. but- Right?
Nope. It includes the school.
Does that
and
include the
It
school?
does. It
Wow.
includes the school. and
That big
The year before. It's the whole fiscal year of the year.
So every day is $26,711, correct? Okay,
Correct.
so 16 times 26,000. Roughly.
Well, wait a sec, here it says
All of it.
amount over 60-day target level is $1,195.
Right. But we have enough money for 76 days.
But it's 26,700 a day.
So that's $427,375. That's 16 days. If you take 26,711 times 16, you get 427,000.
So what's okay?
Okay, I'm confused, Julie. I'm
Okay.
looking at this page, the third page after the blue sheet,
Yes,
unrestricted fund balance, target level calculation. Towards the bottom, we have
we're
amount over 60-day policy target level.
$1,195.
So we want to be,
I see what you're saying. I think we might be,
Something's off.
I think it's how I'm looking at it. Yeah, yeah, we're only 1195 over that, so
Yeah, no,
we're only 1,195 over the 60-day. You can't really,
that's not.
you can't do it by the daily budget,
but that,
our
policy wants us at 60 days.
and we're right there.
And we're there.
Technically, you're only 60 days out, not 70.
Well,
Yeah, that's
In
true.
reality.
Still a lot better than we were.
No, I understand that, but if at 76 days, I mean, if we took 6 of those days off, it's $160,000 we can put towards the budget.
Right.
But we're not,
Yeah,
and that's where I was going with that.
yeah.
so where did we get the 76 days from?
I don't know, I was just looking at the math and right at 60 days when we do the cow. I'm not sure. Brain cramp, I guess.
So we're at 60 days.
Yeah.
That's our target though.
It is.
Right.
Sorry. It's 60.
It's money for their production.
No, what I was saying is if we had 76 days.
Oh, we could.
If we took 6 days off.
Well,
of
you
that,
gotta-
it's Still be at 7. We're
Yeah,
not.
you gotta subtract. Yeah, I see what you're saying.
But it's good. It's good news.
Yeah,
They're
no.
at our target.
I was hoping it was that, so we could reduce that budget a little better, so we take some of that money.
Yeah.
that
and
we can, so.
We'll check that. We'll definitely check it.
So how does using $210,750 out of the fund balance affect our 60-day readiness?
So you have our unrestricted fund balance is at 2,042,109. That's where we are right now. If you take out the 210, no,
210,750.
yeah. Something, can you do that math, Peg?
210,750.
That would be 1,831,359.
So then we are technically for this year over the target level. That's where we probably get, that's the
That's-
calculation for the 76 days.
But we're really not.
But we are, yeah, we are.
So if we utilize 210,000, we
We're
will
at-
be at the 60-day
No.
target.
Be under it.
We'd be under it,
The target is 1,602,000.
right, and we would be at 1,831,359, is that right?
Oh, so.
Which
then
is,
we-
that's how we get the
then we-
extra 16 days, that's, yeah, we had to talk through it, I'm sorry. It's 8:30. getting old.
Yeah, so the extra 16 days is
Is the difference
two hundred
between,
and 10,000?
right,
Oh, it is 76 days.
it is.
I'm a goober.
Okay,
That's right the first time. Doubted myself.
You were doubting yourself, Peg. It's 8:30 and it's been a long budget. So,
Yeah.
yeah, we, there is room there if we wanted to do it.
How much?
The difference between 1602, 658 and 1831, 359.
Are we being premature because we don't know the school budget and we don't know the county budget?
You are.
But I mean, if there's a little bit of wiggle room.
Well, we don't know if there's any.
Well, we don't know. And the issue becomes. I don't know, I don't know enough to speak about the school budget. I know what we've seen on Facebook, but I haven't seen anything from, and they haven't dropped off the book for review yet.
What was those numbers again, Peg?
So in the book was the 2,042,109.
Yep.
And if you took out what we have budgeted for utilization would be negative 210,750, and then that comes to 1,831,359.
What was that again? 1,000,000.
831,359, which like what Julie's saying is past the 60-day,
And that takes you to the 60 days, the 1.8 million.
takes you 76.
Takes you to
76.
76.
1.6.
That's how she got the 70.
Yeah, I just forgot.
So we really do have 60.
16 days to play with,
I just forgot.
$26,700.
No, just the difference between the 1602, 658 and the 1831, 350. Which is. It could work out the same way, it's just. I don't know.
So we have 210 to play with.
Good, I mean, but like you said, we don't have the school,
School's a school, I mean, there's not much we can do about that.
no, but it is a way to,
If they want to be paying.
that is a way to,
To me, that's that's on the school, not on us.
well,
Part of our policy to include that.
yeah.
I understand that, but
Yeah.
we'll still be at our 60 days.
But what I'm just saying is. We've been really conservative with that number. I'm not sure I'd go that whole way,
No,
but
I wouldn't.
there is. If you wanted to have some tax relief. I mean, it is relief you can,
I'd rather wait until we know.
I can only wait till,
Right.
I got a week.
April 7th,
I got a week.
yeah, because then we've got to get everything
Warrant.
printed.
right?
I mean, I don't mind coming back next Tuesday night real quick because by then I could have an answer for
There's solar.
the solar for you. I can, see what, and maybe that would make everybody
I would like that.
a little bit more,
You must have that
Comfortable.
much, Val.
he does.
Uh,
And then, I mean, I can try to get an answer from the school what they're thinking. But they don't have their public meeting until
May 16th.
May 16th, so.
There's a bill in front of the legislature to even up those dates, so you have to vote on the school budget at exactly the same time you vote on the town budget. So you don't.
Oh,
have
so
to
we would have the numbers like we
So
did
we-
during COVID.
We'd have the numbers.
I
Yeah,
got
exactly. I'll see if.
A much better situation.
Well, because it confuses us because when I had to fill in as clerk, we got actual budget numbers that went on the town warrant in June. And since that time, we haven't had that. So then we're still thinking, where's their numbers? And it's the second year Pam and I thought, where's these numbers? And again, we were told, that's not how you do it. They vote on that at the meeting and then that goes. You're just not even voting on a amount, so. So if that would make you happier and we'll confirm the, revenue numbers and the. Give you scenarios with the fund balance and we'll just meet for an hour next Tuesday. You would like,
And then
Last word. Just, Miss Peg,
Sure.
where does our rate, where does the 23% stand now? What the changes were made?
Sure.
Well, it was, but we reduced.
Yeah, it's gonna be down to
Is it just 30?
13 something.
12, something, high 12.
13, it's down to 13%.
13.51 is what I'm seeing. Yep.
I think when we started, it was
10% off.
13.
And how much would moving the 15 days reduce that to?
Well, even if just half of it, if we get 210,000, play would be removed. It took 100,000 of it out.
heck, add $100,000 to fund balance and see.
Okay, get us into the 12s.
I just want to remind everybody, we were at 23.25.
I know.
We've done a good job.
Like you said, there were hard things. but it was
Hard
good.
things.
And if the school budget goes bananas. Everything.
That-
I don't think they spend much.
That brings us to, whoops,
Yeah, I hear.
it doesn't lower our, in the summary I have, it just lowers the expense side. It's like a comparison of last year's expenses to this year's expenses. So it doesn't help us like this, it's 13.51% of the expenditures are up, but the revenues went up 8.59%, which is higher than what you had on that revenue side. It was at 5.75 before. So
Well, it should be a lot more palatable.
So on the automotive excise taxes. Abden made a comment earlier about prices coming down.
I think they will. I mean, the price didn't go up on this vehicle that he bought, that he's ordered. It's the same price that it was 3 years ago.
Yeah, so how much should we worry about the excise tax figure if we're thinking about?
If you're worried about the
Yeah.
excise tax, then hold on. let me-
We increased that today.
that's under the finance section and the revenue side. Okay.
85,000, 85, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, in 2022, we were over $1 million in excise. I know we'll hit the target that we have this year, but we've always been a little careful
Save on,
about it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's still probably an even.
yeah, I mean, we still have a lot more months to go and we're at 661,000 this year. It's hard to know what's gonna happen, but we were shocked, like during COVID. People kept coming in and I know, but it just was shocking, like it.
And then our cars disappeared.
Yeah, I
So,
mean, they do say to watch your excise, because when it goes up, it does end up coming down, so.
People are going the rest of the.
I feel comfortable where it is.
That's right. Bought themselves some calves.
Julie, will there be a vote on Tuesday? On
You'd have to vote just on the revenue part,
just the revenue, okay.
just revenue. And like I said, you may want to reopen capital if we have more. You wanted a maintenance number on the solar. And we wanted to ask about if they'll give us that period. Exactly, when does it take effect?
You know what we could do? We could pay them half in February. And have them reduce their their billing because we bought half a panel. So we had to get free electricity, for half the panels, and we had to charge us 10.5
And
cents.
it's $4,000.
That's
That's what they ought to do.
reasonable if they'd agree with that, but
I can do that phone call.
Might as well ask. Worst thing to say.
You know, like he said, he wasn't gonna finance the system for it, but he definitely, you know,
Buy 'em
willing
half.
to do something.
I don't remember whether he committed to that number or whether it was just spitballing
The 2,000.
the 2,000.
I don't think he actually did commit to a number because he said it's so new,
That's right. I mean, he tossed it out.
he tossed it out. I mean, one of the interesting things is we have somebody now who's working for us as a contractor who lives in town, who's been good to the town now as our electrician, who also deals with streetlights and also has 5 years' experience working with the solar arrays. And I started talking to that person about the solar array, and they had worked on it, and I said we were having issues with the optimizers, and he knew exactly what they were. And, you know, like John said, they have been up there. Part of the reason is we had that read problem where the optimizer wasn't it wasn't that it wasn't necessarily generating, it just wasn't talking to the, because the numbers are different on the optimizer, what's in the actual system that says, hey, yes, we're working, even though we are working. So I explained all of that to him, just about as silly as that sounded, and he understood it. So I was really impressed because
Good.
I don't understand myself. But so I will try to reach out to him and see what he might think.
Make it a
maybe.
part of the contract. If we're gonna buy it out, we're gonna know that they're gonna be serviced.
Yeah.
So, and say, what's your price, you know, maybe index to inflation or something.
Well, if they're under warranty.
But you still have to- we have
Yep.
Thank you. Two questions, the homestead Betty exemption. Can you explain that either, probably not tonight, but next
So the
Tuesday?
homestead and the Betty are items that people get a reduction in their taxes for their business. And then the state reimburses us for that reduction.
So it being a zero figure in the budget here. how
Just
does
means we
that-
haven't, that hasn't been done yet.
Does that lag a year? to
No,
account
it'll be
for?
done. We still have 4 months in the year. That'll be done when we get that reimbursed.
So what can we count on for a number in there?
Well,
As far as budget goes, as far as voting on this, but,
you don't vote on homestead and Betty.
but it's part of the total here.
So the homestead and the Betty, there's nothing in there.
So that's the April 4th.
It's zero.
Right, but do we get money in from that? During the year?
You do, but the offset to that is the taxes don't come in on that.
Okay,
So
so
when
how
you,
does that reflect in the previous year figures there?
so that's just what we got in. So when we do the commitment, those numbers are given to us by the assessor. Those are the numbers that go in. And then what we get back is taken in as revenue.
So this number is
So we budgeted.
taken out somewhere
During the
else.
commitment, we got 419,894 that in the commitment, we then put into the Trio system. And then at some point along 2023, we got $518,436 from the state. But we don't know that number to put in there.
But how is that eventual number reflected in the budget we're voting for now?
It's not.
So how does it work in the previous year budgets in these columns?
So we're voting on we don't put any number in there. And then when the commitment comes and our assessor does his section, which includes the homestead and the Betty. When Peg goes to put the numbers in the system come July 1st, that, or say by then, by the time commitment comes, it's sometime in August. That number, say in 2023 budget, that comes from what the assessor does, that 419,894.
So does that add on to the total revenue that we've
So then
voted on in the budget?
it has nothing to do with what, it's not a number that's in the total revenue in the
It's an
budget.
assessor process. When it comes time for Daryl to do the tax commitment and set the mill rate, he has an assessor's return that he has to fill out.
Right,
Then he knows what the valuation is, he knows what our expenses are budgeted. And then he has to do a pretty intense over my head formula, figure out what the homestead and the Betty are. And when he gets those, they get plugged into this form. And then it goes further down.
it's
the
not a
line and-
budgeted revenue.
Yeah, it just every year, we put it in after the fact so that it reconciles. So like after all, this is just one piece of the tax bill, the budget. And then there's those pieces that we include for information, but we don't vote on them.
Okay,
The assessor piece.
It's in every budget we've ever done. It's just how it works. Same
Yeah,
thing.
I'm sorry, I just don't see how it works like in the revenue totals here.
It's zero, so there is no, it's not in the revenue.
Oh, no.
But in the previous years,
It's been zero every previous year,
Cause it gets put in
because
September
it gets
or
put in
October.
late.
but it's in the.
Okay, so
here in
follow
the
me.
book.
Let's go to page 58. Look at homestead and Betty exemption.
Yep.
If I were to look back in my 2023 budget, that 419,894 number that you say, that's gonna be zero.
Okay, so is.
So,
if
so,
we
so
go
no,
to
wait, it's, so,
Total.
right,
is
so
it
go
in-
back, you're jumping ahead.
Can we turn these other people loose?
Yeah.
They're ready to go
Okay.
home.
Yep.
May I have a
I
motion to adjourn?
Move we adjourn, select board adjourns.
All in favor? Select board is adjourned.
Okay, I suppose budget committee wants to.
You help yourself, take no.
We have a motion to adjourn.
No move.
Thank you, all in favor?